Hello, I am Henry Keane and we are UATV English. We are online as usual to give you the Ukrainian perspective of the reality of war. Watch in the episode. Ukrainian drones paid a visit at Russian military enterprises overnight. NATO summit, a nice guy Zelenskyy is going to meet Trump to discuss problems. Zelenskyy urges to invest in top-notch Ukrainian drone tech. Please comment and subscribe to our channel while watching it. By doing so, you'll help us to fight off Russian criminal aggression. Welcome to the News Pulse. From the evening of June 24th through the night of June 25th, explosions were reported in several regions of, no, not Ukraine this time, Russia, and temporarily occupied Ukrainian territories as a result of a drone attacks, and maybe as a result of a criminal war of aggression that dictator Putin started. Russia's Ministry of Defense claims that air defense forces shot down 18 Ukrainian drones just overnight. According to them, 7 UAVs were downed over Rostov region, 2 over Krasnodar, Kursk region and the Black Sea, even 1 over Bryansk region, 4 over annexed Crimea. How many of Ukrainian drones were not shot down, one might wonder. In Rostov region, the city of Taganrog was shaken overnight by multiple explosions and secondary fires. The head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, Andriy Kovalenko, commented on what happened.
It is a key hub in Russia's military-industrial complex, specializing in components for combat drones and control systems, and is involved in projects related to the production of Orion drones, electronic warfare systems, and digital integration for strike FPV drones and loitering munitions. Andriy Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, on Telegram.
In Azov, during the attack, the area of the Azov product oil refinery was targeted quite successfully, if you ask me. Up to 10 explosions were noted over Republic of Tatarstan, also in Saratov. At least 2 powerful explosions were reported near Engels air base. In Russian-occupied Crimea, explosions were recorded in the area of the Jankoy airfield. Strikes were also confirmed in Ukrainian temporarily occupied cities, targeting energy infrastructure and enemy positions. Power outages in these areas are detected as of now. The occupiers continue to redeploy the large forces through temporarily occupied territories. Why? According to Petro Andrushchenko, head of the Center for the Study of Occupation, a large convoy of military equipment and personnel is moving from Crimea and the Kherson region through Mariupol towards Taganrog and Rostov-on-Don. A key feature of this movement of quite significant number of troops is the absence of self-propelled artillery systems at enemy's disposal. The vehicles now on the move bear that tactical marking on it in the form of a circle inside a triangle, similar to those observed in 2023 along the same route. Preliminary intel suggests that these forces are being prepared for redeployment in the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. Recently, Russian forces have been observed using a new type of the Iranian-made Shahed 136 assault UAV.
The enemy has been observed using a new Iranian series of strike UAVs Shahed 136, the MS, previously the M series. This UAV features a new Iranian 4-antenna CRPA satellite navigation system and a camera. The rest, including the engine and other components, remain unchanged. From a Telegram post by Colonel GS.
Also, Russia has started adding a thick, sticky, incendiary substance into the warheads of these drones, which continues to burn after drone hits the target. Even when you try to extinguish it, won't. So nothing to be surprised with, really. Terrorist at a terrorist job, as simple as that. Also, Russia has reportedly depleted its stockpile of original antennas for this kind of drones produced and is now relying on Chinese manufactured alternatives, which is no problem for them to get, right, as a gesture of friendship, I guess, from one dictatorship to another. A key feature of this upgraded Shahed is a camera that is paired with the NVIDIA Jetson model. Using machine vision, the drone can now guide itself to the target in the final phase of its deadly flight, significantly increasing targeting accuracy and strike success. Now they don't just blindly launch drones, no, they see exactly where they are targeting. I mean schools, private houses, hospitals, and they watch it in real time as their drones murder Ukrainian civilians. Grim update on recent Russian terror in Dnipro and Kharkiv. In Dnipro, the Kremlin killed at least 18 people, injures nearly 300 and many injured also in Kharkiv. Russia launched a deadly missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro on June 24th, targeting civilian infrastructure and a passenger train, killing at least 18 people and injuring many others. The assault caused large fires and also damaged a dormitory, gymnasium and administrative building in the city. Almost 100 of victims remain in hospitals as of now. Worth to mention also here that this Russian terror attack comes right as NATO leaders gather for a high-level summit in The Hague, when NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte warned on June 23rd that Russia remains the alliance's most immediate and long-term threat. After that, said, NATO returns to discussions whether it is worth it to raise national security spending for allies to 5%. Our Ukrainian suggestion in this regard is maybe move NATO headquarters to Dnipro. Survive another Russian terror attack, put out the fires, bury your colleagues, and then decide. Russia is also constantly attacking Kharkiv. One of the most massive and deadliest attacks happened on the night of June 7th. Then Russia used more than 50 UAVs, KABs and missiles. For 5 days after the attack, bodies were being pulled out from under the rubble. Then again on the night of June 24th, yesterday, Russia attacked Kharkiv with drones, and again fires and death, people injured, housing obliterated as Russians target directly schools and public and residential areas, waging a war in a Russian way. And that way is terror. Calculated, cold-blooded terror. And the main achievement of Russian propaganda in this regard is exactly when you in the West are getting used to this terror. 10 Ukrainians killed, 20, 50, 100. It is an awful new norm now. Less awful with each reiteration. Terrible, yes, but that is where Russian propaganda invests billions of dollars in. But there is a way to counter it. Next time you hear awful normal news from Ukraine, imagine only for a bit of a moment it is your relative, your friend, or, God forbid, your child who was shred to pieces by Russian missile and is buried under the rubble. That might give you a whole new perspective of looking at news from Ukraine. NATO Summit 2025. Of course, allies gather in the Netherlands to discuss the most acute questions: increased spending to 5% of GDP on defense, consequences of the Iran-Israel war for Euro-Atlantic defense, and, of course, Russia's aggression in Europe. En route to the NATO summit in The Hague, US President Donald Trump told reporters that Article 5 of the NATO Treaty regarding mutual defense could be interpreted in, I quote, many ways. Asked directly if he still stood by the alliance's core commitment to defend any member under the attack, Trump responded that he is committed to saving lives and ensuring security, but would provide a precise definition upon arriving at the summit. We just can't wait for that to finally happen. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte responded that he has no doubt about America's commitment to the alliance in Article 5, which treats an attack on one member as an attack on all. Trump has frequently criticized NATO's funding principles, previously suggesting he would not defend allies who don't meet defense spending requirements, and in 2024 he even controversially said he would, I quote, encourage Russian aggression against such members.
For me, there is absolute clarity that the United States is totally committed to NATO, totally committed to Article 5. And yes, there is also an expectation, which will be fulfilled today, that the Canadians and the Europeans will speed up their spending, making sure that we not only are able to defend ourselves against the Russians and others, but also to equalize. And this is fair, that we spend the same as the US is spending.
We're with them all the way. I mean, if you take a look at the numbers, we're with them. And There are very big things to announce today. I don't know if you've taken the vote or you're going to take the vote, but I've been asking them to go up to 5% for a number of years, and they're going up to 5%. That's a big, from 2%. And a lot of people didn't even pay the 2%. So I think it's going to be very big news. NATO is going to become very strong with us.
Well, while NATO in general and Donald Trump in particular focused on defense spending and the consequences of the anti-nuclear war campaign in Iran, Germany points at the enemy at the gates, literally. Chancellor Merz confirmed the plans to increase funding of the Bundeswehr in future to 2% of GDP, and it is indeed a lot for today's Germany, and reminded everyone that Russia is at war not only with Ukraine, it is a threat to all Europe now.
I assume that we will make a joint decision today to provide NATO with significantly better resources in the future. We will take a decision that in future NATO will make an additional 3.5% and 1.5% available for infrastructure for our armed forces. All of this will take place with great consensus because we agree that the threat situation has changed, and the threat is Russia in particular. Russia not only threatens Ukraine, Russia threatens the entire peace, the entire political order of our continent.
And there is no significant Russian weapon today that is produced without components, without equipment or materials from other countries, sadly, including some from Europe and NATO. Yes, of course. And this must stop. Such components can be found in every Russian missile, in most of their drones, and in military vehicles. And it's not just China. Also, Taiwan, and some of these parts come from the European countries and from the United States.
So while European leaders discuss how to not let Russia arm itself even more, and whether more sanctions, real sanctions, should be imposed and forced onto Russia, European and American companies just encourage Russian armament to grow and then just to be used against them when it all fires towards the Europe, maybe. Sounds stupid, but hey, nothing personal, just business. For now, at least. And the US President Donald Trump has finally agreed to a private meeting with President Zelenskyy. It will happen today at the NATO summit, as Politico reports. The meeting will take place amidst a shift in attention away from Russia's war against Ukraine due to the Israeli-Iranian conflict. He is a nice guy. We will discuss his problems today. End of Trump's quote. The American president stated that. Well, both leaders last met in a nice month of April at a nice location, St. Peter's Basilica, in the nice land of Vatican, for the sad but nice funeral of a nice guy, Pope Francis. And now today, on the fields of the whole gathering of nice guys, NATO summit.
Vladimir Putin really has to end that war. People are dying at levels that people haven't seen before for a long time. Go ahead. Good. So let me just tell you, they do want to have the missiles, okay, as they call them, the Patriots. And we're going to see if we can make some available, you know. They're very hard to get. We need them too. We were supplying them to Israel, and they're very effective, 100% effective. Hard to believe how effective. And they do want that more than any other thing, as you probably know. That's a very good question, and I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I can see it's very upsetting to you. So.
The United States nominated a new general commander of the joint NATO military force Europe, Alexis Grinkevich, a combat aviation pilot. Alexis Grinkevich is an American of Belarusian descent. His great-grandfather, Ilya Grinkevich, immigrated to the United States in 1899 from Minsk, Belarus, being then a part of the Russian Empire. And today's nominee to the Supreme Commander of NATO forces in Europe has spoken aloud, answering on the provocative question if Ukraine can win this war.
I believe that when your homeland is under threat, you fight with a determination that is difficult for us to imagine, as we have never been in such a situation. Alexis Grinkevich, United States nominee for commander of the NATO Force Europe, during a Congress hearing.
So that is it. NATO forces challenges. I mean, the vast number of country members with each own armed forces, strategies and questions and military budgets, while the Russian and Iranian war machines are simply focused on achieving their targets way faster. Becoming real competitors for the NATO, really. Divide and conquer. I guess the slogan, as ancient as the Western civilization itself, is not losing its relevance for us today. While the NATO summit's outcome in general is not so obvious at all, in particular it provides Ukrainian drone producers with valuable contacts, treaties and memorandums for joint production. Learn more in our report.
Up to 8 million drones per year. That's how many Ukraine could potentially produce, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said at the Defence Industries Forum in the Netherlands. However, achieving such a scale will require significantly more funding.
Our defense production potential has surpassed $35 billion. This includes nearly 1,000 types of products, from artillery and traditional armed vehicles to advanced drones of all types and missiles. But around 40% of this potential lacks proper funding. Is true. That's a problem.
On June 24th, the Netherlands announced a new military aid package, which includes 100 radars for detecting enemy drones. These systems are expected to be delivered by the end of 2025. In addition, the Netherlands has invested another €80 million in drone procurement as part of the International Drone Coalition. The parties have signed contracts for the production of hundreds of thousands of drones.
Drones are currently crucial for Ukraine, both to defend cities but also to hold the front line. That's why we made a decision earlier to invest 500 million in the drone line project, and we now turn this into a contract which enable Ukrainian industry to start producing on a large scale, 600,000 drones in total. So that's massive. And in addition to that, Ukraine, of course, also needs drones and radar systems to protect their cities.
President Zelenskyy also discussed with the Dutch Prime Minister the potential for joint drone production using Ukrainian technology.
We should stand up together against Russian aggression, and we should resist and condemn the Russian aggression. And as you know, the Netherlands always supported Ukraine, and we will do so in times of war, but also in time of peace.
Drone development is also a key component of Ukraine-UK defence cooperation. According to Ukraine's defence minister, the two countries are set to begin joint drone production in the United Kingdom. This would provide Ukraine's defence industry with essential investment, while allowing the UK to benefit from Ukrainian technological expertise.
As part of this initiative, over the first 3 years of this mega project, the UK will fund the procurement of a wide range of Ukrainian drones that will be produced on British soil. This will enable UK defense firms to rapidly design and manufacture cutting-edge drones at scale. While the war continues, all production will be directed to meet the needs of Ukraine's defense forces. After the war, the drones will be shared between the UK and Ukraine. Rustem Umerov, Defense Minister of Ukraine, via the Ministry of Defense on Telegram.
Another key priority for Kyiv is strengthening its air defence systems. According to Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, new air defence equipment will soon be delivered to the Ukrainian military. President Zelenskyy, addressing the forum's plenary session, reaffirmed Ukraine's openness to collaborative defence projects, including tech sharing and joint development.
And we must lead in the drone race, both in strike drones and interceptors, and keep moving forward in producing traditional weapons, taking into account all the lessons learned in this long war. Please increase your investments in Ukraine in joint weapons production. And all the weapons we produce become part of a new, stronger European defense and security system.
Kyiv's main defense goals include joint production of weapons and the tightening of sanctions against Russia. Zelenskyy stressed that this isn't just about Russia. It also involves its allies like North Korea, Iran, and certain Chinese and other international companies that help Moscow continue its war. This is a long-term threat to Europe. the Ukrainian president warned. That's why Ukraine needs not just weapons, but investment in its defense industry, Zelenskyy concluded. Reported by Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.
Well, that's it for today. My name is Ernie Keane and we are News Pulse at UATV English. Well, thank you so very much for your time and attention. We appreciate that a lot. Indeed, it helps us to make Ukrainian voice to be heard worldwide. Please join our fight for freedom and sovereignty by subscribing to our channel. Hope to see you with us tomorrow. Goodbye.